Hi everyone. So here is 𝗠𝗲𝘁𝗁 and Marisa from Growing the Flow, and we here with Stars and Cars episode 23, and we're going to be talking about the new moon in Gemini. Hello Marisa, nice to see you again.
Hello, you too, Mila. Good to see you. So here we are.
I know.
Like, what's happened since the last time we came? Anything? Everything?
Yeah, kind of like our lives a little bit tilted on their axis, for sure mine, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot going on. May was definitely a very busy month. So much movement and things shifting, and now it's June already, and we're heading our way right into that new moon, the 6/6 portal, and practically halfway through 2024. So moving right along.
It's just gone so quickly. And I mean, me being in my transitionary place, my parents' place again for a few days before heading to Bulgaria, where my 3 month stay is reduced to 1 month because of Gemini legislation and paperwork. But anyway, it's all this Uranus Mercury conjunction we had last week, and Jupiter Mercury just conjuncted yesterday. And of course, this is all part of this new moon. So there are a lot of closing of cycles and new beginnings. So yeah, I'll be very curious to hear what cards have to say about that.
Yeah, for sure. It's like we've been saying, expect the unexpected. We just we weren't specific, right? We just left it open and the universe responded. So now there's plenty of unexpected twists and turns and things coming up, and yet yeah, in transition. That's been a big theme that's been coming up for me, and with June and the empowerment pack, just really feeling this energy of being in this process of transformation, but sort of in that dark area where it's not exactly formed, we don't really know exactly, and we might even be feeling the ups and downs of that whole process. And yet there's this call to have trust and faith and allowance to surrender, and then also kind of rise to the occasion now as these energies are shifting and kind of recalibrating and adjusting ourselves to meet those frequencies where they are, so that we can maximize the potential for these new beginnings and these trajectories that we have an opportunity to get into alignment with.
Yeah, and this literally just sums it up. All the keywords, literally, the adjustment, recalibration, and yeah, the faith and trust and surrender, I think are very important key points, which have been coming up for me all the time. And yeah, I think we just get to the situation or point in our lives where this is the only option, really.
Yeah. Well, we've been there, done that, have the t-shirt, right? We checked all the boxes. We've had these experiences. We chose our adventures, and now we bring this everything we've gleaned from it. Like, it feels like, moon cycle after moon cycle, we're sort of doing that. We're unpacking everything that unfolded during that lunation, and then we're sort of deciding where to from here. And now we have this particular new moon where we have this potential for maybe setting some intentions and seed planting, but we don't know yet necessarily, right? So we're just sort of looking to tap in and see, how we can best work with these energies and exactly where in our lives. It's funny because kind of like going into this and sort of tuning into the new moon, I know there's a lot of guidance around relationships and the energies that Gemini are bringing in terms of like healing and harmony and balance and relationships and all those, and I have seen that, and I've been feeling that myself, and more internal though, in acknowledging and recognizing how I'm greeting my relationships, like how I'm responding to the outside people, yes, relationships, but dynamics of relationships and challenges and things that come up, and how I can see the shift in me and how I'm responding, and then how that magically affects how everyone responds back to me, so
Yeah.
therein lies the healing, but it's still all coming from in here. So, it's interesting to see how that's all fitting together.
Yeah, and this is exactly the Venus is actually ahead of this new moon. She just conjuncted Sun yesterday, so she's the one leading the pack in a Gemini. And everything in Gemini, technically, as we know, trine Pluto, everything that it entered Gemini, trine Pluto, that was the first aspect each planet made when entering Gemini. And also at the moment, this moon and Venus are also trine in the south node. And that's the one that we know we're trying to evolve, you know, this codependency and projection and, you know, trying to repeat the same patterns and just going in the same directions all the time and stuff. And now I feel with this, everything in Gemini is this new choice. And just like what you said, that, you know, like you taking a different approach of a situation or making a different choice, responding in a different way, actually has a ripple effect in how people respond to you or not, you know. So I feel like a lot of people are becoming, I don't know, I'm just feeling that with every moon we're becoming more conscious to what's actually going on.
Yeah.
You know, like more aware, like, this is what it meant, because like you and I were talking like, oh yeah, we talk about all this astrology, but it's kind of like out there somewhere else, you know. And then when it happens in our personal life and like hits us as a, you know, brick and stuff, and I go like, oh, I didn't see this one coming, and I'm like, well, but I was talking about it, that this is what we should be expecting, but it feels like something like is removed out there. And then we just become more and more conscious because it becomes embodied in a physical manifestation in our own life, whichever way that's happened, you know, that's showing up.
Yeah, it's in the most real way as possible. It's happening to you, right? Well, we say for us, of course,
Yeah.
but yeah, like it's in your backyard, it's in your house, you know. So it's interesting because we've had these waves of the things that feel very, you know, just in theory, they feel like it's theoretical, and actually it's manifesting. And so it's like wild to observe, you know, how it's manifesting. But even just being able to say that, I feel myself in a better, in a higher, in a better position to, again, greet that energy, whatever it is, because I couldn't predict it, or I don't know. And getting more, maybe more comfortable with the not knowing, because I feel like I have this toolkit that I'm going to use when these things come up. And it's almost like looking forward to how we're going to get to use all these things that we've been getting.
And then in a sense, how I feel like now when my life is being kind of tilted upside down and my current position where I'm finding myself in, but I'm feeling like, well, but it feels aligned for whatever like, you know, like when my ego is like reacts to it, it goes freaking out like, oh my God, what's happening? I cannot control this. But there is a peace, inner peace within me, which say, yeah, but this was coming, you know, it's aligned, it's actually meant to happen. And then is this like opportunity to trust that, okay, if my soul chose this for me and this is happening exactly when and as it's meant, then it's gonna be fine. Because me rejecting it is just like, you know, I'm gonna go against my own soul plan or whatever. But, you know, and I feel many people might be feeling that way, where they might feel that, oh my God, on the external, my world is falling apart, but there is some kind of peace and calmness within you, which makes no sense. And it might be like, oh yeah, because the soul actually knows that this was always going to happen anyway. And then it's just that, oh, that means that there's something new is coming then, you know, the tower is falling, but there's going to be a new tower built because it needs a space to be built upon. So I feel that everything is just like always in our reality, it's all happening at the same time. And, you know, everything has polarity.
Yeah, but it's just, it actually, it's really, this is what it's all about. This is what we're talking about in theory. And now it's happening, it's playing out, where you're able to say, like, I was thinking to myself, like, sometimes if I observe myself reacting, there's a version of me that's going, shouldn't we be freaking out about this? Like, is anybody else freaking out? Because like, this is like a big deal. And it's funny because as you're saying it, and I've been sharing like some of my big life changes that are happening right now, is my oldest daughter is graduating next week. And on my, you know, social media page, I put her graduation picture, and I have this border around it that says, I can't keep calm, my daughter is graduating. It's like that phrase, you know, I can't keep calm, this is happening. Or it says, keep calm, it's almost summer, or whatever. It's this phrase that people use to say, like, don't freak out, or I can't help but freak out, this is happening. And that's how I feel. It's like this way of saying, like, shouldn't we be freaking out because this is happening? oh, actually, I am calm. Actually, I am like taking in the moment or really being more conscientious about, you know, how I want to have this experience. That's always the thing. Like this thing is happening. How am I experiencing it? How do I choose to experience it? Which is so empowering. This is what we've been saying, is that there's so much empowerment in surrender, in acceptance. You know, we talked about this, right? This is what we were talking about. Now we're here. Now we get to see it in real time actually playing out, you know, our own personal serenity prayer in real time, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So let's get to these cards, because I think that's going to give us, we have so much that we could say because it's just so much happening. So we're going to see our Queen of the Moon to tap in for an overarching energy around this new moon in Gemini.
And by the way, if people want to really hear what's going on, you can check out Marissa's Marco Polo. She will share more of her personal stuff there. And you can check out my practical application of astrology, because I for sure will be sharing this in more depth. So yes,
I know, I can't wait. I want to hear. I can't wait till you record that. Yes. And that's the thing, like we're keeping it kind of brief here, but yeah, if you want to expand into it, definitely check out both of those spots. Yeah. All right, let's see what's coming up. Ooh, that one.
Queen of the Moon.
Is this the same one from last time?
Oh my God, that's the one I pulled for the new moon as well. The purity.
This time? This one, this new moon?
Yeah, yeah, literally when I made my Gemini new moon video, that's the one I pulled.
Which I haven't seen yet. Oh my gosh, I did not know that. But didn't we pull this last time?
I know we pulled it recently.
We did, yeah. I could have the cycle wrong, but purity, the snow moon. Remember we were talking about frozen versus flow because the snow had come up. So wow, all right. So we're back. Here's purity again, because, and again, I think it speaks to this too. Like we still don't see exactly what is exactly unfolding here in this blank canvas that is unfolding, but there is this cleansing and clearing here that's happening with this purity energy.
And I mean, just looking at the person alone, it really reminds me either Two of Swords or Eight of Swords. You have a choice, and depending which choice you make, you either might feel like, oh, I choose something that is actually going to expand me, because it's like, you know, the swords, which is like the mind, right? Or it's something that's going to make me feel stuck. Like my hands are tied. There is nothing I can do. But I mean, I think it's a card 30, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is the Jupiter number 3, which is about expansion. And we know that in almost all the suits, the 3 is a positive. The 3 of Pentacles, the 3 of Cups, no? 3 of Wands for sure. Yeah. It's like more like a positive, like maybe 3 of Pentacles, not so much, but 3 of Wands and 3 of Cups is definitely a positive cards. They are positive cards, so.
For sure. Well, the 3 of Pentacles is also about collaboration, co-creation. The 3 of Swords would be the one that gets the bad rap. That would be the one that brings the most cleansing and clearing, purification, if we will. So actually in its own way, and it's funny because these are all energies that have been around, because you know last week when we tapped into the collective energy, we ended the week with the 3 of Swords.
Oh, I know, I remember that one.
You know that one.
I know how that showed up for me.
Which of course, yeah, it's traditionally that energy of loss and grief and really feeling like stuck through the heart, but in other ways too, it is about bringing together the head and the heart, you know, the air and the water coming together in a way that is actually very clarifying. And then, you know, the shedding and releasing of what's been lost makes way for something new that comes in, and that silver lining. And then today's card actually for this week, and again, this is all on the Marco Polo Sharecast where I tap in every week for the collective. Today's card is the 3 of Cups for our midweek blessing. So yeah, that number 3 has definitely been around, of course, Jupiter's energy for sure. And then this notion of what we're co-creating right now, and whether you're doing that consciously or unconsciously, you know, because this is showing either one, Gemini, because it's showing on one hand, I can't see, I don't know where this is going, I don't know, but also it is a way of sort of blocking out the external distraction and noise so that I can get really clear and come inside and trust my own intuition. You know, we've been tapping into the third eye chakra. We're bringing in those energies with the healing energy sprays that I brought in, so that it is about really connecting in with your inner wisdom also, because when I'm kind of allowing myself to go within with renewed clarity here, so that I can then go out and co-create with others to bring forward the new. But it's exactly what we were saying. It's like, now that I've had this shift within myself that I did because of that step away, getting clear, all that hermiting that we were getting previously, now enables me to engage other. And what I'm finding then is something new is being created from that dynamic.
It's also interesting that in astrology, the third house is, of course, the Gemini house. And also because this card actually has a full moon depicted on it, the last full moon of 2024 is the Gemini full moon. That will be the last full moon, because then we have the new moon in Capricorn, which will close the 2024. It literally is happening on the 30th or 31st, depending where you are in the world. But it's very interesting that we have this card, and it's saying that, well, your eyes are closed because we're starting kind of from the fresh, you know, the fresh fallen snow. We need to decide without not knowing, because we don't know. And we will have much more clarity by December 15th, when we'll have the full moon in Gemini. And by that point, Pluto will be back in Aquarius after its last retrograde to Capricorn, which will be taking place between September and November. And then that's it until 2043. So yeah.
Wow, I'm just gonna look and see what the mantra is with this one. But like I said, I know we just recently were talking about it.
Yeah, we had this card recently.
Just kind of building off of that. Yeah, this is the one that said, I know why I do what I do. And that's what we were saying, is we kind of had this hindsight now, having come through all these things, that, and now seeing how they've materialized in maybe surprising and unexpected ways. And this is exactly what we were talking about before we came on, is like these cryptic messages or symbols, you know, the symbolism that was coming from the universe that we didn't quite read one way, that now we kind of have this hindsight to say, oh, okay, now I know why I do what I do, or what that was all about, because now I'm using that information now to create from here. But it is sort of like a clean slate moment, because the board's getting cleared of all the things that aren't coming with, that aren't supporting, that aren't serving, so that we can plant some seeds of intention here with this new moon that I was feeling. But like I said, I haven't tuned in fully yet for the new moon reading for the empowerment pack, but from what I was getting, I did feel like there was definitely a to be continued from this new moon. And I think that makes perfect sense, that it would go to the full moon in Gemini in December to really be unfolding that energy, to see what's going to be coming into fruition. And this is while in the Northern Hemisphere, we're about to bring in the summer. And of course, then we will be about to bring in the winter. So we have this snow coming forward. So yeah, a lot to consider there too.
And I'm just thinking, you know, I was trying to have a look when Mercury will exactly conjunct the sun, because it's closing. Yeah, it's on the 14th. So literally a week later, because Mercury is behind the moon. So it's closing. So it's saying that the old way of thinking, the old way of perceiving reality and connecting with it is ending. And we know that because Mercury's retrograde, the most recent retrograde, was of course in Aries, which is this new way of thinking and perceiving thing. And Mercury was already in Aries during the solar eclipse in Aries, the one that took place on April 8th on a north node. So we know we are moving into completely different territory, where the way we actually think and interact with the reality, like you said, making the choice to respond to situation differently, interact with it differently, observe it differently, that is going to be a big part of this shift that is taking place for all of us, including myself in my current experience, where I was being very kindly and gently reprimanded, and warning sign was being put out in front of my eyes that you cannot keep doing this anymore. You need to change some patterns over here. because it's actually not going to take you where, you know, your soul wish to go. And I'm sure that for many people it might be that way, where there might be things or circumstances showing up which potentially you've been repeating the pattern for a long time. It was okay, we could just ignore it, or we could just procrastinate with regards to resolving certain things, and now it's just not possible to ignore it anymore. So yeah, that is the Mercury closing to the new moon and being the ruler of the new moon.
Yeah, and definitely it's in all of that. I think then how we communicate as well is coming up with our with others, with all of that clarity is coming. The way we communicate is another thing that's coming in for me, is definitely around expressing ourselves, and I think hopefully in a more effective, efficient way, because that's been a miss as well, as a lot of miscommunication and a lot of things, especially when we had, you know, Mercury retrograde previously this year and such, that things just weren't quite meeting. That now under this umbrella of healing and balancing within relationships can come too from how we're expressing ourselves and how we're communicating.
And that is the trying to south node, which we try to resolve.
Okay. All right, let's get our tarot cards in here.
Yeah.
Psychic tarot, because we were going backwards and choosing. We already know what we want to use for the full moon, so it was a no-brainer that we were going to use psychic tarot for this one. So we're going to see what 3 cards want to come forward to support us here to know, do, and be under this new moon, which again is 6/6. So we have that extra punch coming in with the portal power as well. So what to know? 6 of Swords. Moving on.
Nice.
Moving on. It's time, right? The pocket watch. You gotta go, right? It's time to move on from this old pattern way of being, way of thinking, all of it. It's time to move on. Yeah, wow. And it's our first 6. So we'll see what's gonna come in here.
Actually, just the date, you know, 6/6 adds to 12, which is the Hangman. I wouldn't be surprised if that one came out. And it's also the number 3, which again takes us back to Jupiter. So everything is aligned as always.
Yeah, it's all aligning. So to do action, oop, that one's definitely popping out for us. 4 of Wands, foundation and achievement. But that is definitely on point with this restructuring, reestablishing those roots, the framework, the rebuilding of the things that need repair and all of it. So, and it's definitely bringing in the hope and promise of what lies ahead, which is perfect from a 6 of Swords to 4 of Wands.
And that's also going to be supported by the 2 full moons in Capricorns. We have 2, not just 1, 2. So yeah, that's definitely helping us with that.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy. All right. And finally, to be, let's see what's coming up there. 4 of Cups. We've been talking about this one, haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
Discontent and boredom. This is interesting because I've already pulled the cards for the new moon spread I'm doing for the empowerment, and there's definitely overlap here and in things you were just mentioning. So I'm definitely picking up on some energies that are coming in here with this new moon. Yeah, so we start with the 6 of Swords, which is about moving on. It's about moving through potentially some choppiness, some, again, in transition. There's this energy of like being in this in between where we're leaving one way. And again, with the swords, we're talking air element, our thoughts, our beliefs, our ideas, you know, what's going on up here in the crown that we are leaving behind. We're moving on onto brighter, and we see that coming up on the horizon, up ahead, smoother waters, you know, more aligned, more, you know, it's just moving on up. You know, this says moving on, but it's like we're moving on up. Like this is about ascension. This is about leveling up, and it's time. That pocket watch is like, it is time. And I don't know, I guess, oh, it's the leaves. So my lighting is really like shadowy today, but I see that behind them are sort of like autumn leaves, you know, the leaves that are falling from the tree. And here is all green leaves for the growth and the rebirth and the new. So leaving what is falling away in order to step into the new is how that's being represented there.
And also from the traditional Rider-Waite deck, it's like they're moving away from something that is no longer serving with the hope that there is something better. And the number 6 is about the balancing, that we need more balance, that there has to be more harmony. And again, you and I talking about, you know, a personal private conversation, like how universe will, you know, just offer opportunities, whatever opportunities we need to grow and evolve, even if they will lead us to complete extreme, complete imbalance, because how else would we know? And this is literally why, you know, we have the nodes in Libra and Aries, because it's the two extremes, you know, there has to be a balance. And the number 6 in itself, and it is a 6-6 portal, which is a double 6 energy, even though people might be like, oh my God, it's 6-6, right? Or whatever. But we know that, well, I mean, by this point, many people are aware we live in inverted reality. So a lot of things we were being told to be afraid and scared of are actually not what it is. So the number 6 is actually the number of balance and harmony. So we know that with what's going on, you know, in our personal life and world around us as a whole, there is a lot of imbalance. There is a South Node in crisis. There's a lot of crisis going on. So we are being invited with a purity card, with a blank page, to move towards the light, towards something that would establish more balance for individuals and the collective.
Absolutely. And yeah, as you were saying that about just the way that we have this choice, that we free choice, that as the universe is supporting us, if you're familiar with the traditional 6 of Swords, you know that there's 3 figures on the boat, right? There's a boat, 3 figures, one appears to be a child, which would represent, to me, this is representing like the soul's growth, because there's the child, I usually see it as a woman and a child, but like huddled. And then there's someone standing behind them, which typically you can interpret as like higher self or a guide or some type of protection. So it's like they're all on there. And it's what I was feeling when you were saying that is like, again, we're removing the judgment, the criticism, the pressure over the choices that we made and all the things that culminated into where we are on the boat now, how things stand, that it's all divinely timed as well. You haven't run out of time. We say it's time, yes, because certain timelines are ending, culminating into and coming together. So yes, there is an ending, but there will be and are new beginnings that are coming from that you can choose. But everybody's with you, your inner child, your conscious self, your higher self, everyone's on the boat, you know, having this experience. So you're not going to go wrong. It's just about the way that you choose. But there is, I think, and then this insight is saying, I know why I do what I do. So again, there's this awareness coming in now where we've kind of been through this a few times, and we're sort of, or many times, and we're really starting to take from that, you know, take it with us for what's coming next. And I think that that's what's leading us here, where we know that this energy of 4, which is all about that structure and stability, you know, of that framework and the foundations that we're building on. And so it's funny because we actually said this earlier about like, hey, yeah, like if I want to build a house, I'm not just going to throw it up on top of the sand with no foundation. You know, we need, you know, well, we could, but that's probably not going to yield the highest results, you know, when you're wanting to create something of lasting meaning and value for you in your life. And so we have this 4 of Wands coming in that is representing this, and it is co-creative as well, because it does represent the home, gathering, community, celebrations as well. So it does highlight celebrations and milestones. So there's a lot of different things that are highlighted here in the actions that we can take around these intentions we're setting with this new moon and this 6-6 portal.
For whatever reason, I'm just thinking like in the original Rider-Waite tarot, it's like the 4 poles, you know, but they are 2 next to each other and 2 next to each other. And it was brought to my attention when I was doing my tarot course, it looks like 11-11, you know, the 2-1-1 and 1-1. And for whatever reason, I'm, because looking at this card, and it is about, the safety and security and stability and celebration family, like being all safe and secure because of the number 4. But it feels to me like, this is all divinely orchestrated, or it's all divinely guided. Again, just like you said with the 6 of Swords, there was 3 figures. There were three figures here. Again, well, that's what I can see. There is 3 figures again, son, mother, and a father.
It's like they got off the boat. It's literally like the child, the woman, and then the figure that's standing there.
Which is exactly what it was on the 6 of Swords, in the original tarot. So it's like now they arrived. They were going through the choppy waters, the 6 of Swords traditional tarot. They were going through the choppy waters, and now they arrived, and they arrived at their new home, in the new place, and with the rainbow overhead. It's like divinely orchestrated. Is it's what's meant to be, what's always was meant to be. It's like, like with the Bible, when they said that, when there was this Noah ark, and this world got flooded and stuff, and then there was rainbow. I mean, I don't know if I remember the story properly, when the God said that it will never happen again, and the rainbow is a sign that, it's like, it's not to be repeated, that this is not going to happen. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't remember. I never read Bible word by word, but it reminds me of that, like we have to go through the stormy waters to arrive where we meant to arrive, so it doesn't have to happen again, not that way, like, which is why these things come around again and again for us to resolve, to create a more stable and like a different foundation of our existence here on planet Earth. Because even though this could represent, like, yeah, there is a family of humans, but it's exactly like, that's what I was feeling, what you said, your inner child, your embodiment as a human shell, and your higher self. You, yourself, and you. The whole, the Trinity.
Me, myself, and I, right? We're all here on the boat, and now we've docked, and we're standing here in front of this materialization of what we've been co-creating, and through this journey, this fool's journey. I love it. I totally see it. And it's definitely like, even again, like the 11 that you mentioned does feel very like, as a spiritual number and as guides, it reminds me of my connection with Archangel Metatron, that it's almost like, again, there's this overall like loving, compassionate source that's there, sort of overseeing all of this. So even though we can't always see where this is headed, and we move through all of those, human emotions and reactions to things, and like, I can't keep calm, I'm melting down, I'm having all the things, all culminating into, we're building on all of that and learning through all those experiences to, yes, the rainbow symbolizes hope and promise. But, this too shall pass. But, it's not to say that there'll never be another storm, because the storms have an integral role in this whole process of, overturning and clearing and cleansing and creating new spaces in order to build better, to continue to build. It doesn't stop here, but while we're here, we're present, we're in the moment, and have an opportunity to really fully enjoy and experience whatever this moment has to offer, which is where that celebration and gathering and, seeing things, I think, from a more cohesive place, where it's like, yeah, we're all in this boat together, we're all here. And it is something to celebrate, because even though it sometimes, is very difficult, it's all serving ultimately to the betterment of, what we're doing here, co-creating.
And it's so funny, because actually I respond to a comment today, but that's exactly what I said, that in a sense, I find it very comforting knowing that we are all in this together, and all these energies are showing up in everyone's life in one way or another. They look maybe different, but we are all going through this together, because things are changing, like individually, collectively, and universally. Things are changing, and we are all co-creating this experience. And yeah, like, there always will be another storm, but does it have to look the same? Do we really have to find ourselves as humanity at this point where it looks this way? Which, yes, it didn't ever look exactly the same before, but a lot of us are picking up on a similar energies, like, oh yeah, I remember this, it looked different in Atlantis, but I've gone through this again, which is why I feel this way. So it's time to heal it. But it's so funny because, yeah, the number 4, and we have 2 of those, it is the embodiment because it's the Saturn, the one that turns the formless into form and form into formless. So, yeah.
And
What do
yeah,
we
just
choose?
that being able to recognize that, yes, I've seen this before. I recognize this, even though it may look very different. It could look any number of ways, which is what brings in this energy, is that this is a card of discontent and boredom. I don't like how it looks. I'm not impressed. I'm bored. I'm unenthused. It's disenchanting. And this is my reality. And so it's one perspective that this is coming in to awaken us to the understanding that even in, possibly especially in, some of those moments of the mundane and those things that maybe feel heavy and uninspiring, there's actually the greatest awarenesses to be gleaned, you know, because behind them we see this beautiful green, and there's a castle in the distance of potential that they're not seeing because there is a turning down, turning away from it. And so it's this process of having keener awareness and really like honing that ability to detect when that's happening, so that I know that doesn't mean I'm never going to feel discontentment or boredom ever again, or I'm ever going to catch myself being like, I just don't feel like it. I don't want to. I know this is all happening for me. I don't want it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, okay, and let yourself move through that storm, that energy that's present, that's passing through. But then there's this, the cups are bringing in the emotion and this opportunity for, again, heart chakra opening, because we're seeing that green coming in, and it's about, you know, what we're opening up to, which creates space for new, for rebirth, for healing. That, you know, the 6 that we were talking about being about harmony, balance, and healing. That's another association with that numerologically within the tarot. Oftentimes there's cards that bring in healing, harmony, and balance that come through. And one of the key ways that we discover that is with the things that, you know, kind of leave us feeling the way we're seeing it depicted here.
And to me, it's like the first thing that popped into my head with regards to this card was, what do we not see? Or what do we not want to see? Or what are we choosing not to see, right? But also, me looking at it from my vantage point, is interesting that you have the rainbow in the middle, and for each of the cards, the side of the card which is touched by the rainbow is the light. So the first card, the guy is moving from the shadow into the light, and in the last card, the guy is turning his back on the light, and even though the light is following him, but he's wanting to go into the shadow, right? And this is again about, because it's the number 4 and it is the cup, it's about how well do you know yourself, you know, because the 4 of cups actually represents the Cancer energy, is the cardinal sign. How much do you know yourself? How much are you emotionally stable to actually be able to decide, is this mine, or is this something that's been passed on to me through ancestral line, unhealed wounds, just like you said, you know, because it's always about this passing on the baton, one generation into another. And us as a human collective, we don't come here into next incarnation just to work on our own stuff. It's all everything, right? It's our own stuff, our soul's desire for incarnation, you know, to evolve, because that's what it's always about. And of course, through the evolution, to have myriad of experiences, you know, some of them positive, some of them less so, some of them challenging, because that's the school of life, you know, we have all of that going on here. So I feel it's also that, like, you know, that which we are turning our back to, you know, is it mine, is it not mine, you know, like what it actually is, like to really know thyself again with the, you know, with the cups, like know your emotions, like what are these emotions trying to tell you, and to be able to understand the message.
Absolutely. What you were just saying, I'm like, okay, I have to pull up that traditional 6 of Swords just in case
People don't know what it looks like.
No, because I was totally, first of all, I love that observation about the coloring of the cards. I totally see that. The 6, I'm trying to get it up here so we can see it clearly. Because when you mention, this is the traditional 6 of Swords, where, like I said, we see the child, the huddled person, and then the person who's standing, which I'm feeling this connection. But see how the swords are at the front of the boat? And I've sometimes seen those as almost like prison bars or something that's blocking our view of moving forward. So if those 6 swords represent thoughts, beliefs, storylines, ideas, now we get into the ancestors. Now we talk about what we've been carrying. And actually, it's interesting because this even does carry sort of like an idea of like immigrants, you know, people that are journeying, moving on to a new place and arriving on those shores with all their stuff, with all their swords, with all their beliefs, their ideas, their traditions, all of it, right? And so that's been on the boat, and we were born and we're on the boat and everybody's on the boat. This gives us an opportunity to look at which of those swords, beliefs, ideas, stories, are we ready to release and let go that aren't coming with us? And I've done a visualization before with that, where it's like, imagine picking up one of those swords and gently dropping it into the water and just allowing it to float away because it's not coming with. And so it's lightening the load. It's making us more buoyant because we're ready. We've been talking, you know, Sagittarius full moon, we're talking about the story, changing the story, turning the page, the next chapter. So this is a continuation of that. So now we're moving on. And so we look at what's on the boat and what kind of ideas, thoughts, beliefs have been coming along as a stowaway that maybe we didn't even realize we were carrying. Because as you were saying, it's actually not ours, or it's something that we're ready to transmute, you know? So I do see that, like, you know, this opportunity here coming in about this restructuring and rebuilding, a symbol back to that 6 of swords, because we're really looking at lightening some of that load so that, you know, we are able to rebuild. But to the extent that we're feeling any heaviness or shadow or things around us that are really weighing on us or creating that sense of discontent and boredom, it is important for us to ask ourselves, is this mine? You know, being that we are moving so much right now, especially those of us who are sensitive and tuned in, a lot of times we can find that something that's bubbling up or coming to the surface isn't ours. It could be collective grief or ancestral trauma or something that we're here to move. And you know, that's just the role that we're fulfilling at this time. I know why I do what I do. You know, here it comes back again with that mantra about the way that, you know, I'm facilitating a particular role in this relay, you know, in this collective. And so this is a good card that's like a turnaround card. It is. It's like a look up, look around, you know. Yes, there's these cups in front of me, which again represent feelings, emotions, that I see, and I'm not thrilled about it. But there's also cups that are brimming with blessings and opportunity. There's a rainbow behind me. And I don't even see that because I'm hyper fixated on this other stuff, you know? So it is sort of like, again, it's putting the ball in your court. It's giving you the opportunity to take a look around and see what is creating boredom and discontentment in your life that perhaps is ready for you to move on from, or to look again and maybe see it in an all new light and find out maybe why is this here and how is it served? Or is it still serving, and then move on accordingly?
There are 2 things that really came to me. The first one, as soon as you showed that card and you were saying about the swords, the 6 of swords, and like how this is something that's blocking our view, I saw it as, but it could be protection. Some people could see it as a protection, you know, protection from whatever is ahead, right? And this is again where we go back to the Cancer, you know, the 4 of Cups, representation of cardinal water sign, which is a Cancer, which is the ego identity. The ego always just wants to protect us. Even if we think I'm self-sabotaging, how could I have done that, said that, whatever, is the ego trying to protect us from something, even though this coping mechanism or defensive mechanism or whatever mechanism it is that was learned long time ago or observed and then adopted or whatever, they just serve to protect us because ego just wants to survive, and ego is part of us. It's not bad, you know, it's just sometimes it's not updated, right? It's not, the software is not updated, and of course the swords is the mind. So this is something that came to me straight away, that many times we think that these behavior patterns are actually protecting us, that we are just trying to stay safe, right? But we know Uranus in Taurus, and now Jupiter being in a new cycle with Uranus, and Jupiter already being in Gemini and had a conjunction with Mercury as his current ruler. So there is a new phase with that, and they're both behind the moon. So something is started because something has to end, right? So all these so-called coping mechanism, or all these things that our ego is continuously putting in our head, you know, because I always keep saying that ego is the archive, is the archive of the past. It only knows what already happens, which is why we freak out of the unknown when it's something unexpected, when it's something that we don't know how we're gonna cope with that, what we're gonna do if this is not something we've done before. But with the Four of Cups, just like you said, you know, we have the 3 cups that are now like, oh, I'm bored with this, I don't want to do this anymore. But there is another cup being offered to us. We might not see it, we might not even like it, it might be color we don't enjoy, whatever, but this is exactly what it is, because the ego responds and it says, well, it's the same old. Okay, let's project the same result or experience or learned behavior or ancestor survival pattern because it served back then, even our own past lives, whatever. So universe is presenting this new cup, which we might not even like, you know, like my current situation. Do I necessarily like it? Not really, but this cup might be exactly what's needed to actually break us out of this, in a sense, soul boredom, because there's no right and wrong, and soul, of course, doesn't have these dense emotions or whatever emotions that we have to tackle in human form. But the soul is like, okay, you know, I'm done with this. I already done this. Can we do something different? And there sometimes has to be that unexpected, you know, unexpected thing, shocking event, or whatever we don't necessarily see coming or enjoy or want to be dealing with. And it might be exactly the thing we need to move us forward, right? Because these swords, yes, maybe we thought they were for protection, but yeah, we cannot see the whole 360 or at least 380 if these swords are in our way. So I think there is, and it's interesting that there is no major arcana. So this is saying that, well, you know, you have a free will how this is going to play out. You know, you can decide, it's up to you.
Yeah, Gemini, you get to choose from which way you want to go. And so, yeah, I think that's a really good point, that there's no major arcana. So this isn't, it's all just, it's all serving. It's all helping to facilitate. We're moving on one way or the other, but it really is going to be about your choice as to how you experience it. And I think those are some great points about this, because you could see it as protection. You could see the ego as just being on this rinse repeat, which I think is very important to think about, that point that, like, the ego can only create from what it knows, which is coming from the past, which is coming from this historical story that we've already established we're turning the page on. So to continue to perpetuate that same method of operation is going to not yield the results that we're saying we want on this new page that we're writing. But it's a choice that you can take. But also, it also offers a new way to see that which we find boring or, you know, uninspiring, because it actually is serving or has served. And so maybe if, you know, it's getting ready to change and we are going to be able to move on from those uninspiring cups, yet we talked about this too. How are we going to walk away? Are we going to walk away gratefully? Or are we going to walk away like, oh God, that was such a waste of time and I never want to do that again? You know, like, so in other words, if we flip the script on the way that we see those things that we have found to be tedious or uninspiring, and all the things are just so 3D and practical and stuff that I don't want to deal with, that I can actually now see how they've served me, then I'm leaving from a much different place than one that's like escaping or abandoning, you know, because it just shifts the whole energy of the frequency of the way in which we're moving on too.
Yeah, and I think that's very important, because everything that ever happened to us had a purpose and meaning. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah, and it would be a disservice for us to not acknowledge that and honor that. And I think, you know, seeing both the shadow and light on these cards, you know, it's an opportunity for us to seek out the blessings, the lessons in both sides, the shadow and the light, you know, of all of our sum total of these experiences. And that's where I think there is a discernment when we're looking over those 6 swords. You know, what are those 6 things that are in the way, as I perceived it as a block. You see it as a protection potentially. So now we can see which ones are serving, which ones are protecting and informing, and which ones are harming, because they're blocking or they're in some way preventing where it is that my soul wishes to go, you know. So interesting. So the bottom line is we have choice, right? We get to choose.
We always have choice.
We're back to, and that's another key thing we're going to explore in the new moon reading for the empowerment pack, is the Lovers energy, right? The Lovers card, 6, choice, duality, the card of Gemini. So
Exactly.
number 6 again. So it's, you know, it's just bringing us right back to that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, we already had the Pick Your Adventure. Now we had the opportunity to make some adjustments with the full moon in Sagittarius, and now we have the new moon in Gemini.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
You decide.
We're gonna seal it in. We're excited. We picked an oldie but a goodie, right? This is one of my first Oracle decks I ever got. This is the Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid. I don't think we've used it much here on Stars and Cards, so
I don't think so, but it was by my very first deck that I bought.
yeah, I'm pretty sure, along with The Answer is Simple, which I love, is by 𝗠𝗲𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁. This was like the first Oracle deck. This is definitely the deck that I learned Oracle cards on, for sure. Yeah. So let's see what our message is coming here to button up the new moon in Gemini. Deep knowing. Deep knowing. That's funny because that just gave me a little like, oh, what are you asking me for? You already know. There's a deep knowing, there's a remembrance, right? Like it's all in there. So I always look at this card and think like there's 2 moons, you know, like neither one looks like the earth to me, but there's just definitely like this wisdom sitting on top of this, but we see that as well. That looks like a full moon to me. But
it's kind of like a halo, like a big halo. It's standing on the ground, but it's got a big halo. I know it's like some kind of like planetary.
Yeah. So deep knowing, which I think could also be bringing in, like I said, some of the energies that I was tapping into in May was about, may we remember, this remembrance and this ancient knowledge, or these things that we are remembering again, and using kind of a dual meaning for that word was that, you know, we're bringing it back together, like recollecting and like again, like this energy. So there is this deep knowing, and it's actually kind of what you were saying about yeah, I should be freaking out right now, but actually I feel this deep calm. I feel this peace. I feel this knowingness that this is right. This is the way that it needs to go in order to get me where I want to go.
Absolutely. And I feel like you know, like our favorite 𝗤𝗺𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁, and he's got this song, I think, is it called Life Holds Me? And then I know that when he starts singing, there is one paragraph where she said, the light holds me, you know, the life holds me, the light holds me. So, you know, this owl, the wisdom, and, you know, being, you know, the embodied, you know, the animal, you know, the incarnation. But of course, it has the ability to fly high, to see from the higher perspective. But it's just like, it seems like it's sitting on this spirit, you know, it's like this circle, you know, this a continuum that we've been here before, we've done it before, but also it feels to me like, you know, you always are supported, you always, you know, sitting on the everything that came before, everything you've been before, and it's always part of you, and it's holding you up. The light holds you, it always holds you. So that's why I feel, because this to me is, this deep knowing, of course, to me is very intuitive card, that inside you know, you already know, like your soul already knows, you chose this, you know, you already knew before you even incarnate that this was going to happen at some stage. We all knew that, you know, like what we were signing up for, to be alive at this time of human history, of the, you know, one of the biggest transformations that ever happened on planet Earth. And yeah, but we are always supported. Like this owl is is, you know, on steady ground of the spirit and of that which always was, is, and will be, you know, the continuum. And yeah, and these are the things that's out there, you know, about his head or behind him or wherever it is. It's the multidimensionality. You can decide how you want to look at it. You know, we know this owl is standing on something, you know, the foot is rooted on something solid, you know, but whatever is that behind him, above him, or a part of him, that is up to you how you're gonna look at it and which way you're gonna fly. So yeah, and the 47 is the 43 is the number 7, which is our favorite 7 of cups, but it's actually the Neptune, you know. You know, it's about
choose wisely. That's the other card that we always get. Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, because it is. It's like you decide what's behind there, what they're saying, whatever it is, you are supported. And you may not have always seen on the back of the boat that there was this support there, but it has always been there, even when we can't see it, even when we can't see it, you know. And actually, as I look at the oracle, that is really the crux of what it's saying, because it's talking about intuition and listening to the oracle within. And so to me, it's like, if I can arrive at this deep knowing of this truth as my foundation, everything else somehow then starts to feel easier. Is it super easy, instant, always? No, yes, there's going to be struggle, there's going to be setbacks, but when I'm operating on that deep knowing, I can cross off of my list. We've talked about this before. I got 99 problems and that's not one, right? I'm not alone in this because I have this deep knowing. But what it was talking about here that I thought was so spot on with what you were saying about intuition being the faculty that allows you to enter into a dialogue with source, the consciousness that you are a part of but cannot see. And it's saying it's perplexing that people are taught to ignore this natural capacity to navigate their journeys, to access their inner guidance. So it's saying to know that you have an ability to read between the lines or the swords and find all the truth that was missing when the story was told. So when the story was told, when the foundation was laid in another time and place for a myriad of reasons, what is there more to it to be seen that I have not yet uncovered? And I hold that within me. I have a deep knowing. And if I know that, and I know that I carry that with me no matter where I go, again, that creates a sense of ease regardless of the outer conditions. You know, it feels like there's a protection there that's inextricable. It cannot be taken from me because it's a part of me and it goes with me wherever I go. So it's just talking about opening the door to wisdom that's far greater than what's available in the limitations of human experience. That feels like 6/6 portal, you know, stepping through over that threshold and into a remembering or a recollection of this deep knowing that we are carrying within us. So
yeah, and we have a first card which has a full moon, and the last card which has 2 things that look like a moon. So
well, what did we say? We have 2 Capricorn full moons, right? So
and I just like think like, oh yeah, we have no major arcana, but this deep knowing sounds like it.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say, well, there's your major message. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I think this is I mean, it's a new moon. So if you are trying to find a full clarity and know all the hows and whys and wheres and who, you're not gonna find it with the new moon, but with the full moon for sure you will have much more clarity with regards to what choices you are making right now, how they are going to start manifesting, and we will be able to make adjustments by that point. But this is why we are not supposed to see that much, because, well, you have to decide for yourself, not based on someone else or whatever else happened before. And it's this deep knowing that is going to guide us where you personally need to go, because it might not be the same place where your neighbor needs to go, you know, because we all came here with a particular mission which is unique to the person and their soul signature, right? So yeah.
And that's what makes up all of these fascinating, you know, these different facets of life and these different experiences that we're all co-creating and having each individually, but yet collectively. So yeah, wow.
Cool. Yeah, that's pretty spot on. I feel.
I love it.
Cool. So do we feel complete?
I think so. I feel pretty good about it, just we're taking it from here. And believe it or not, we're almost midway through this year. So
I
so far
seriously,
so good. Yeah.
it's like a blink of an eye. Yeah, blink of an eye for sure. That we just started 2024, and it feels like star years away. Like it feels like different century already, but at the same time, it feels like it's gone so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just kind of processing all of that at once and you know, continuing on, carrying on. Keep calm and carry on. That's what the phrase comes from. Keep
Yeah.
calm and carry on. So
And yeah, and let's just observe how this is all going to unveil.
yeah, see how it all unfolds. But
Well, I have to put my hands on heart because being in a situation that I found myself, I'm very curious to see where I'm gonna be the full moon in Gemini because I have no clue.
me too. I'm curious too. I'm going to be here for it. I want to know.
Like, oh yeah, 6 months from now? Well, I have no clue. So let's watch this space.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
anyway, Marisa, as always, please tell us about your newest and latest and where people can find you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so new month. So we've just kicked off the June Sharecast. So the Empowerment Sharecast is my free space on the Marco Polo app where I do my weekly collective card pulls and special offerings. I actually did do a card pull this morning, by the way. I know you haven't seen it yet. I didn't tell you because I want you to see it yourself. But I did a special midweek card pull there too. So that's a great way to connect a little more intimately from the noise of social media. It enables me to have some special offerings there, which include my monthly empowerment pack that's kicking off this week. So I still have a couple spaces if anyone wants to come along for the month of June, where you receive those 3 readings throughout the month, your month ahead energy, this new moon, and then that full moon at the end of the month. Or if you just want to come along for this new moon, I have a special reading for that. So those are the 2 that I'll highlight here is the June Empowerment Pack and the New Moon Empowerment reading. But I have a bunch of specials right now because we have solstice coming up this month. So I have a summer or winter solstice spread. That's one of my favorites to do. And some other goodies. So they'll all be on my link to my seasonal specials here.
Absolutely. And yeah, we're going to be kicking off the solstice alongside the full moon in Capricorn. Number one.
Too, that day. The Cancer season begins, solstice, and the full moon.
I mean, you can't make it up. So, but that's for the next time.
Yes.
So yeah, as always, thank you so
I
much.
think we all need to tune in. When you provide your practical application, like we all want to know, get the popcorn ready because I know it's going to be a good one. So for sure, be checking.
I cannot guarantee it's going to be recorded this weekend because I'm a little bit under the weather. Plus, I have to pack for Bulgaria and I'm traveling on Sunday morning. So I cannot guarantee. I'll do my best if I can record it. If not, then it will have to be recorded post weekend. So we'll have to change the pattern and just go with the flow. But yeah, I definitely will be sharing with regards to these unexpected changes, trials, and tribulations. And yeah, and it's all for the best, of course.
Absolutely. All right.
So thank you very much as always. It's been a pleasure. And I hope that people found the information useful. And I'll look forward to the next time.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.